Hello, I'm Bob, and welcome back to another Satisfactory episode. As y'all can see, we're somewhere else, somewhere far, far away. Not a building in sight, only desert all around us. And that is because last episode I said that we're gonna move far away, so that's why we're here. As I was walking around here, I've seen there's a lot of resources, and that's good for us because here is where we're gonna build our smelting area. And for this build, I didn't want to make a box-shaped factory. I was thinking of making a factory that resembles more of a wedding cake, and it's all going to be possible with some mods that are later mentioned throughout the video, so stay tuned. First and foremost, we needed power, so guess what I did? I built a coal generator that makes us enough power to start for now. And with that being said, we could go right into building our cake smelting factory. Per usual, I didn't have a plan starting this off. All I knew is that I didn't want it to look like a box. And I did the complete opposite of a box, of course, which is a circle. But later on, I came to regret doing something with the circle since it complicates how I'm gonna place everything. And it just made me think a little bit more. But eventually, I figured out how I was gonna do it. At first, I attempted to make a blueprint for all the smelters to make that turn around the circular base of the factory, and it really didn't work out how I thought it would, because once I tried to place it down, I saw that it didn't really wrap nicely around the factory. So in the end, I just ended up placing the splitters one by one, which was relatively easy. I just had to find a common place marker and repeat it over and over until it was surrounding the whole area. Now, remember how I said the circular foundation was going to bring me trouble? Well, this was where it brought me trouble. I couldn't figure out how to put the smelters and align them well, since I wanted them all to be the same distance from the splitter and at least be aligned. But as y'all can see, it was quite difficult, and I'm not going to lie, it kind of took me a while to figure out, but in the end I did, and from there on it was smooth sailing. Now, you may be asking yourself, how am I going to connect everything back? Well, it's basically the same. All I had to do was put some conveyor lifts to make it a little bit easier to connect the mergers and connect everything together. And that's basically what I'm going to do throughout the whole build. In the end, it ended up looking like this, and there's a lot of empty space in the middle. So what I'm going to do is basically add some more smelters in the middle, and hopefully they are symmetrical. By the way, they weren't, but I'm probably gonna fix that later on. So let's get right into it. While I put down all the splitters, I think it's a good time to mention all the mods I've downloaded so far. To begin with, I downloaded the Fix-It Cam by Panacota00, which allows me to create camera animations, time lapses, and so much more. And it's just gonna let me get a different angle of what I'm building. I paired this mod up with the Sky UI by Dark, which allows me to change the time of day. So if I wanted it to be night, it'll be night, and if I wanted it to be day, it'll be day. And I've also been using Infinite Nudge by Sir Diggy By, which allows me to nudge in small increments and rotate in any axis I want. And lastly, I've downloaded the Curve Builder by Last No Mai, which allows me to create these curves that you see right here and is making my cake shaped factory possible, and hopefully lets me build new, better looking factories from now on with curves, of course, since I'm trying to stray away from box factories and move more into different shapes, and hopefully I achieve that. So enjoy the rest of this time lapse. And just like that, we have the first floor done. Well, not entirely done. We've already laid out every single smelter, which I believe was the most difficult part. Now we're missing the walls and the roof and the next floor and maybe another floor after that. But yeah, this is how it's looking. It looks pretty nice and organized, and hopefully it stays that way till the end. So with that being said, let's start thinking about how we're gonna build this wall, why don't we? And of course, I put down this wall, which is the same radius as the, what's it called? The outskirts of the foundation. So technically, if I build a blueprint, it should match that. Now, when building this wall, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I was just sort of experimenting, putting down different types of walls and putting beams along the edges of these walls just to add some texture and make it look a little bit nice. And in the end, it wound up looking like this. For me, it was still missing something, and that something were signs. In case you didn't know, signs can be used as lights. You just change the color to the same color you want it and go into backgrounds and choose no backgrounds, and it winds up looking like this, which in my opinion looks pretty cool. I didn't know at first what color to go with. I was either gonna go with green, red, or blue. So I chose white, and in the end it looked pretty nice in my opinion, and hopefully it all fits well together once I start putting the walls. Speaking of, let's start putting down the walls. You know how I said putting down the smelters was the hardest thing? Well, here is the second hardest thing. Why, you may ask? Well, because I have to put it perfectly on the edge and make sure it's at the right corner, because if it's not, then it won't align with the next wall and so forth. And the first one to put was relatively easy, but then the second and third a little bit more complicated. But thankfully it got a little bit easier, because once you put a blueprint down, you can just switch it into blueprint mode and it snaps on. At least it did if it was on top, not beside it for some reason. Maybe because I used the infinite nudge mod, which allowed me to move it a little bit more than the game lets you, so it kinda connected somewhere different. But yeah, here's a time lapse of me putting down the walls. And I'm just gonna let this be in here for now, because it shows how annoying it was to put these walls. I mean, to be fair, I am also trying to learn how to work the infinite nudge mod. Even though it says how to work it, it kind of complicates things. When stuff is curved, it kind of moves odd, and that's why it took a lot of fidgeting around to make it work. But thankfully, eventually got the hang of it. Not in the first layer though. The first layer took forever, as y'all can see. Anyways, I don't know if y'all been noticing, but my uploading schedule's been wonky. And that's because the new semester of college started and I'm trying to juggle everything at once. But I've been enjoying putting content out, so that's not gonna stop. Maybe I'll reduce it by a video, but I plan on uploading 3 videos a week, whether it's Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, or maybe Saturday, Tuesday, and Friday. But I'm still not sure what I'm gonna do, so once I'm sure, I'll create a post in the community thing, if y'all even look at that, saying what my upload schedule will be, and hopefully I can stick to it. And yeah, anyways, the roof was the easiest thing to do. We just had to put a lot of foundations down, and that's pretty much it. Is it looking like a cake so far? If it is, leave a comment below. If it's not, still leave a comment below. Anyways, from here on out, it's pretty much smooth sailing. We just add another layer, more factories, and that's pretty much it. And in case you were asking yourself if making a cake factory was the first thing that popped into my head, no, it was not. It's just how it ended up being. So, that being said, here's the first layer done, officially. Woohoo! And now that I see it, I probably should have made it daytime for this. Anywho, the second level of the cake factory was way easier, since I already know how to place all the conveyors so they could be evenly divided between each. I basically just left the wall in between, and it kind of works out perfectly for everything. But y'all have already seen this. We just connect the conveyors, put the smelters, put the conveyor lifts, put the mergers, and then connect the mergers and put the walls down. I said put the walls down. Huh. Okay, well, the walls did take a little bit, so maybe if I say it one more time, and then put the walls down. There we go. And boom, just like that, the second floor is done. Oh wait, we're forgetting the roof. Let me just put that in right now. And I guess that's the second layer done, but this wooden cake factory still seems to be missing a whole lot. Besides connecting all the conveyors and getting all the ore here. Maybe it's missing another layer on top of this one. And in the end, it ended up looking like this. It doesn't look too bad actually. It's probably one of the best and biggest factories I've built so far. And I'm gonna be completely honest, this is a completely new editing style for me. So let me know if y'all enjoy that, or what I could improve, because after all, I'm trying to improve in everything I can. So that being said, let's view the inside. This cake factory has a total of 105 smelters, which should be able to melt 3,150 ore per minute if it gets enough resources, which it's probably something I'm gonna have to do, but I'm not doing it today since I think achieving the cake factory was big enough, and figuring out how I'm gonna bring all the resources over here is probably gonna take a little bit longer. Maybe I'll use some cars or train. I haven't quite thought about it yet, but stay tuned and maybe you'll find out. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and until next time, this is Bob, signing out.